Hello and welcome to this very special interview here on Money Paathshaala. Joining me today is someone who has spent a very long time in the corporate world. Of course, he's still with the corporate world, but after having reached the top, he decided to become an entrepreneur a few years ago. And I remember that the day he thought of his venture, we met for a cup of tea. And one thing that I know about Shachindra Nath, who is the vice chairman and managing director now of You Grow Capital, is the fact that the small and medium businesses, every time I've met him, his focus has been on them. And in his various previous avatars as well. And of course, You Grow Capital was founded, I think, Sachin, with this very belief that how could you help the small and medium businesses? So my first question is, how are you solving the credit problem? Because that is really, if I'm not mistaken, what your passion and your goal was for them.
No, thank you so much, Vivek. Yes, I fondly remember when we met for the first time, and I had this aspiration to create India's largest financial institution for small businesses. And that stemmed from the fact that, unlike most of my peers at financial services professionals who always have lived their life in large metros, have been educated in foreign universities, I came from a small town, from my city of Banaras, was educated there, spent my first 10 years in Mirzapur in carpet industry. And I always, when, used to run large corporate, I always used to wonder that the largest contributor of our economy, which is small business, 30% plus of GDP growth, has the least credit, dispensation. In 2017, the credit gap for a small business was roughly around 55 trillion rupees. Today, it is 86 trillion rupees. And I used to wonder, what is it that why mainline banks, large financial institutions are not being able to provide the credit support to small businesses? And over a period of time, I realized that it is actually more to do with the businesses itself than the lending institution. I keep saying, think of this way. Today, go to 7, 8 years back, and you want to lend to a small business in a tier two town at 50 lakh rupees. And lenders need three things: intent of the customer, his eligibility, and ability to repay. And when you go to such customers, say, I want to give you a 50 lakh rupees of loan, the customer would say, please, you can't see this on my books. Please come and sit in my shop or a factory. You will see, actually, I'm doing good business. Now, that was too hard for a formal credit system to assess. But actually, coincidentally, when I thought of this venture and what I call a large shift started happening. Three things happened in 2016 to 2018. First, the demonetization, which actually created a psychological barrier to small businesses thinking their cash can be taken away. Second came the GST, which started formalizing the economy. And third, digitization of banking and the maturity of bureau. And I realized that this is the time, the next 2, 3 decades, the core problem of not being able to assess the credit worthiness of a customer would get solved. 2005 or 2000, if you go to a Chroma store, you have to buy a fridge or a TV by cash. Today, you go to Chroma store, you don't need that cash. You get credit on tap. And I think so in next 5 years, that would start happening for small businesses. So we designed our business to benefit from this shift in the data architecture of India and focus on a customer segment which is 25 lakh to 10 crore customer segment and build everything around that. So today you grow in the last 5 years, of which only 3 years have been operational because of COVID and other things. We have been able to actually build almost a 7,600 crore of loan book. We have actually serviced more than 90,000 plus customers. We have disbursed almost 14, 15,000 crore worth of loans. So I think so that is what is happening. The problem we are solving is through the lens of the data. When we pull a customer's GST, the banking, and his bureau, and we've designed a patented proprietary technology, the machine can say yes, no, how much, what price, and then the traditional credit system of the credit underwriter, the origination all starts. So I think so that's what we have, I think so, been able to transform for small businesses in credit in India.
It's amazing, Sachin, because you said when you were growing up, Banaras was a small town. Today, it is one of India's leading cities, and that shows the growth of Bharat in that sense. And obviously, along with the growth, lots of businesses and individuals have been able to dream big about the India story. Do you distinguish between which sector the business lies in, or because some institutions that I've spoken to, they choose certain businesses, certain categories that they lend to, or are you, as you said, your technology does not look into what kind of business you are doing, but more in terms of your ability to pay?
No, you're absolutely right. So I think this is the second very unique part of our business. I keep so machine cannot distinguish between cash flow of the behavioral aspect of a small business. So if you are a chemical trading business and a chemical factory, or if you are a school versus an engineering college, machine doesn't differentiate between the two types, because machine is not that, unless we deploy some very advanced artificial intelligence, which will eventually happen, that cannot differentiate. The small businesses in India are by design are non-homogeneous. What I mean by non-homogeneity, I keep giving this funny example. Think of a large bank's credit officer in a tier 3 town going for giving a doctor loan, and he visits two different type of doctors. First is a dentist, and other is an IVF clinic. Now he believes that a good doctor means very large number of patient inflow, and you go and ask the dentist the question that how many OPD patients come to you. Obviously, the dentist would have a very high number of OPD patients, so says 30. The next visit he does to an IVF clinic and say how many OPD patients come to you. Now, in IVF clinic, OPD patient would be only one or two in a week's time, right? And he come back with this impression that IVF clinic is a bad doctor and dentist is a good doctor. Actually, in reality, it is reverse, because IVF clinic per patient value is higher than the dentist. So that's what create the very unique problem solving, that lenders being homogeneous and customer being non-homogeneous. So we said how we can solve that. Once machine has said yes, then you can solve only by deep specialization and creating template around every businesses. So we said that Bharat Way we will only lend to India consumption story, because otherwise it's very difficult for us to grow. And that's why in 2016, 17 and 18, we designed our business to focus on 9 sector and 100 subsector. So we do healthcare, education, food processing, hospitality, light engineering, electrical equipment manufacturing, auto component, chemical, and micro enterprises, which are more cluster driven. And then we have 100 subsector. So when a credit officer is visiting a customer, he need to know on a template what type of things he has to see for every type of business. So we don't need to necessarily for them to become an expert for everything, but they have a design and a template through lens of which they look these different types of customer, which otherwise looks very similar. And that's why you are being able to solve their credit problem and design your credit product and need. Because it can vary, somebody needs a 30-day loan, somebody needs a 90-day loan, somebody needs a 10-year loan, somebody want to buy machines, somebody want to, upgrade the infrastructure. And the need can be only serviced when you look at the customer type and design your underwriting through lens of that sector and subsector.
Sachin, are you purely digital focused, or do you have physical presence as well? Because I was reading and I've been tracking your phenomenal growth, that you do have tie-ups with banks as well. So are you a combination of both, or are you looking, while the machine may rest wherever and give its verdict, but the outreach, is it only digital or is it also physical?
So I think so. That's why if you look at, we say Ugro is a data tech company. And there is a purpose and reason why we say. So technology is the table stake. Every financial institution have to, go and upgrade technology. What is technology? Technology is nothing but process simplification. If you remember 10, 15 years back, if you have to open a bank account, savings account, you used to take anything between 15 days to 1 month time. Today, actually, you can open your saving account on an app. There are certain banks which came 7, 8 years back. This was their main claim to fame, that we can open your account in 5 minutes time. Today, every bank does it, right? So technology is a differentiator, but it is a differentiator which, benefits you only with a lag effect. Everyone would catch up there. But the data for credit decisioning is the most prominent force, and not many one are adopting. That's the point one. Second, India as a country and lending as a business required multiple things. It definitely requires physical presence, because without physical presence, I keep saying that if go my state hometown UP, so Banaras has famous gulab jamun, but Allahabad would have something else. Kanpur would have bundi ka laddu. So in a country where every 100 kilometers the language, the food, the behavior, the culture changes, not being able to physically present, go and meet the customer and also collect physically, you cannot survive. So digitization and data can only improve your credit decisioning and do it faster, but physical presence for origination, collection, and remain in touch and solve the problem of the customer is completely required. And that's why today we are present in 100 plus location. We focus on 7 core states, and certain segment of our customers, the top tier, the 5 crore to 10 crore, we do in top 25 cities, and the balance we do in 7 states, which is Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka, Andhra, Rajasthan, Gujarat, MP, and UP. So there we are expanding. So we are around 75 location. We are adding another 75 location. In next 3 years' time, I think so we'll be present in 350 plus physical location.
Sachin, when one talks of lending, the question always comes up about, NPAs. And, data after data over the years that one has seen coming from the RBI, coming from various entities, has always shown that it's the biggest myth that the small business is likely to default. In fact, it's completely the other way around. I think if you see the growth of microfinance institutions, it could be cultural, it could be for whatever reason, but do you see the same thing, that actually people do pay back, and it's not correct to say that only big businesses are good repayers of their loan?
So Vivek, I said that lending is about three things: the intent of the customer, the eligibility, and ability to repay. Now, as you go bigger the entity in lending, the quotient of intent becomes lower, the ability is higher. But you may have an ability to repay, but if your intent is not there, there is always a problem. And that's why you have seen Indian banking system has gone through a massive turmoil, because people who actually had the ability to pay had very little intent to pay. Now you go bottom, then intent is very high. The ability to repay sometimes become very challenging. And that is why when you combine the both and you can look at both angles, you will build a very resilient portfolio. And on the ability to repay, so if you think of this way, why in say 2000, I remember my dad when he had to buy first scooter Priya, it came after a wait of 7 years, and he has done a recurring FD that when the scooter comes, he should be able to buy it. Because there was no concept of consumer financing, because it was believed consumer financing is highly risky. But today there are leading lenders grow by 30% on a quarterly basis, right? And while it is quite heated up, RBI is concerned, but the fact is that it has shown very resilient portfolio performance. And you will see that now happening for small business for the same reason that one, the small businesses are getting formalized. They have now learning that it is good for them to have a formal cash flow. And last but not least, the ecosystem is allowing lenders to find both where the good intent is there and ability to repay is there. Today also, for a monthly disbursement of almost 500 crore at an average ticket size of 17 lakh, we disburse only 30% of total origination. So it is not that we are lending to everyone. So almost 2,000 crore worth of loan get originated, and only 30% of that clear our hurdle. And that's why my belief is that this decade would see very resilient performance vis-a-vis every other lending segment of the market in India.
One final question, Sachin, while you've taken the path of lending, and you are a listed company, you took that route as well to, be a listed entity. Uh, do you foresee yourself also being able to provide for an equity need of a small business, or will it only be credit for you?
Yeah, no, so the customer segment which we focus actually cannot be given formal equity, right? So our customers are who are in total trading volume or turnover of 25 lakh to 10 crore, which means the equity component of that comes from the entrepreneur itself. It can be in form of a formal equity, or it can be in form of a third party collateral, his personal property, anything, right? And I don't think so that require a formal equity. As you go above that threshold, the 50 crore turnover SMEs, the 100 crore turnover SMEs, 200 crore, which are now going on to stock exchange and others, we don't think so that we have the capabilities because that becomes more banks business, formal larger lender. So for this segment, actually the size, the opportunity, the need is so large. And if we can become India's prominent lending institution around that, that is good enough. In one life you can achieve only one thing, right? So I think this is good enough for us.
Well, you've already achieved two things. You've been a corporate honcho, now you've created one entity, and you're still very young. So I'm sure you can do the third part as well. But I wish you all the best, Shachindra Nath. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to many more conversations with you around this segment. As India charges ahead, it will need the financial support these businesses, and I'm glad that you're providing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivek.